Welcome, brave souls, to a journey through the chilling unknown. Tonight, we unravel 7 spine-tingling tales of haunted houses that will keep you up at night. From mysterious whispers to ghostly apparitions, each story dives deeper into the supernatural. But before we begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss the next chapter of terror. Story number 1. The House of Echoing Footsteps. The McAllister family moved into their dream home in the fall of 1997. Nestled on the outskirts of a small town, the house seemed perfect, until the nights began. It started subtly, the sound of footsteps pacing the upstairs hallway when everyone was asleep. At first, they blamed the old wooden floors, but soon the footsteps grew louder and more deliberate. One evening, as Mrs. McAllister folded laundry, she heard a faint whisper, "Get out," coming from the baby's room. Terrified, she rushed upstairs to find the baby giggling at something unseen. Determined to get answers, they consulted the town historian. To their horror, they learned that a previous owner had gone mad, pacing the hall for weeks before tragically taking his own life. The family left the house within a year, and it remains abandoned to this day. Story number 2. The Portrait That Watches. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, the Thompsons discovered an old portrait hidden in their attic. The painting depicted a stern-looking man with piercing eyes. They decided to hang it in their living room, thinking it added a vintage charm. But the charm quickly turned sinister. Guests complained of feeling watched, and the family noticed that the eyes in the portrait seemed to follow them around. One night, Mr. Thompson woke up to find the portrait lying face down in the hallway, though no one had moved it. After weeks of sleepless nights, they decided to burn the painting. As the flames consumed the canvas, an unearthly scream echoed through the house. The disturbances stopped, but the family swore they could still hear faint footsteps at night. Story number 3. The Room That Vanished. The Johnson family's new house came with a peculiar blueprint. It detailed a small room that didn't seem to exist. Intrigued, they began knocking on walls and eventually uncovered a sealed door hidden behind wallpaper. Inside, the air was cold and heavy. The room contained a single wooden chair and a broken mirror. After opening the door, strange things began happening. Objects moved on their own, and whispers filled the air. One night, the youngest son disappeared while playing hide-and-seek. After hours of frantic searching, they found him asleep in the sealed room, though the door had been locked. Fearing for their safety, the family moved out. The house's new owners claimed the room no longer exists, though its eerie presence lingers in local legends. Story number 4. The Haunted Hotel Turned Home. The Millers thought they had stumbled upon a hidden gem when they purchased an old hotel to renovate into their family home. The building, once a bustling inn in the 1800s, had been abandoned for decades. Despite the eerie atmosphere, they eagerly began renovations. Strange events started almost immediately. Tools would disappear only to reappear in odd places, and they often heard laughter echoing through the empty hallways. One night, their teenage daughter saw a woman in a vintage maid's uniform standing at the end of her bed, silently staring. When she screamed, the figure vanished into thin air. The family later discovered that the hotel had been the site of a gruesome murder in 1897. A maid had been accused of poisoning a guest and had died mysteriously before her trial. After a local paranormal team confirmed the presence of multiple spirits, the Millers decided to abandon their dream. The property remains unsold, shrouded in its dark history. Story number 5. The Shadow in the Basement. The Browns' new house came with a warning from the previous owners. Never go into the basement after dark. They dismissed it as a joke until they began hearing strange noises, a low, guttural growl and the sound of shuffling feet. One evening, their dog bolted into the basement, barking furiously. When they went to retrieve him, they saw a large, shadowy figure looming in the corner. The figure seemed to move with them, always staying just out of clear view. They fled upstairs and locked the basement door. After weeks of living in fear, they invited a priest to bless the house. As the blessing began, the basement door slammed shut on its own, and the priest reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. The family ultimately moved, leaving the shadow behind. Locals now call it the basement of shadows, and it's said no one can stay in the house for long. Story number 6, the ghostly caretaker. The Harrisons bought an old manor with plans to restore it to its former glory. The property had been empty for years, but neighbors spoke of lights flickering in the windows and figures moving past the curtains. As they began renovations, the family started noticing small but strange occurrences. Freshly painted walls would be smudged overnight, and tools would be neatly arranged after being left scattered. The strangest event occurred when they found a message written in dust on the grand piano. "You're welcome." A local historian revealed that the last caretaker of the manor had died tragically in the home, still devoted to its upkeep. Convinced that the spirit meant no harm, the Harrisons decided to embrace their ghostly helper. To this day, visitors claim to hear faint humming and see tools moving on their own as the caretaker continues to oversee the house. Story number 7, the door that opens itself. The Smiths' cottage in the countryside seemed idyllic until they noticed the front door would frequently open on its own. Initially blaming the wind, they soon realized the phenomenon occurred even on calm days. One night, Mr. Smith set up a camera to catch the culprit. The footage revealed the door slowly creaking open without any visible force. As he reviewed the video, a faint, shadowy figure appeared in the doorway, standing still before vanishing into thin air. They later discovered that the house had been built on the site of a tragic accident where a traveler had died waiting for shelter on a stormy night. Believing the spirit was still seeking refuge, the Smiths placed a lit lantern by the door each night. Since then, the door remains closed, as though the spirit finally found peace. Thanks for joining us on this terrifying journey. Which story chilled you the most? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.